So, welcome to the first Schola of the Lingua Latina Ecclesiastica. We will start with our opening prayer. So you can go down to the next one, Jacob. So we have Orátio Prima, Oremus, Signum Crucis, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Doxologia minor. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sic ut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Sancte Hieronyme, ora pro nobis. And go down. So ante incipimus, ec lingua Latina ecclesiastica est, id est Latina ecclesiae Catholicae, non lingua Latina classica, id est Latina Ciceronis et Caesaris et Virgilii, etc. So this is ecclesiastical Latin, that is the Latin of the Catholic Church, not classical Latin, which is the Latin that was used by Cicero and Caesar and Virgil, etc. Scholae Latinae dicuntur, so these schola will be given mostly in Latin. The reason for that is that usually language acquisition works best when you read the language and listen to it. So we will do a little bit of grammar, but it won't be too intense. Itaque omnia verba non intelligetis. So you will not understand all the words, and that's okay because you'll be learning them at some point, and you want to get a kind of a gut feeling for the language first. Now you can go down, yeah. So primum, alphabétum. Alphabétum linguae Latinae ecclesiasticae est A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U consonans, X, I, Grecia, et Z. Alphabétum linguae Latinae ecclesiasticae est A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U consonans, X, I, Grecia, et Z. You'll notice that there's no W. Usually, if you're talking about people like George Washington, you can use a W, but typically there's no W. You can go down to the next one. So Pronuntiátio, and we're using the ecclesiastical pronunciation, so Pronuntiátio ecclesiastica. On the left we have consonantes, which I just did for you. B is always like a B. C, well, we'll discuss more of that later, but the main focus will be on the verbs, the vocales, because we really don't have any equivalents in English. So audite diligentissime, listen very carefully. A, E, I, O, U, I. A, E, I, O, U, E. So those are how the verbs are pronounced. And sometimes they'll be given different qualities, like classical Latin qualities. Don't worry too much about them. Sed in verba cum cu aut GU, U vocalis non est. Or rather, it goes with the Q and the G. So itaque becomes itaque, and EG becomes lingua becomes lingua. So they're just grouped with the G and the Q. They don't count as vowels. We go to the next one. We'll continue. Ke sicut cat, semper est nisi e secuntur, sicut igitur church est. So the two examples are consonantes versus principio. And if there are two C's followed by that E at the end of ecce, they both make the ch sound. So it's ecce, not ecce. The G is similar, so it's sicut good. Semper est nisi e secuntur, sicut igitur gem est. So the two examples are Gloria versus Angelus. Ha silens est. It's always silent, except for H. Well, ha equals ha est ka in verbis mihi et nihil. So the H makes a K sound in those two words. The E consonants, sicut yes est. R is rolled, and it will be different depending on whether there is one R or two. So the two examples are principio and terra. So the R sound just lasts a little bit longer. If you can't roll your R's, don't worry about it too much. The G and the N together make a ny sound, so agnus. The TI, if it's followed by a vowel, makes a C sound, so Orátio. TH makes it just sounds like a T, so diphthongi. PH makes an F sound, so Alphabétum. PS is just a P and an S. Id est utraque pronunciantur, so psalmus. SK or K, si aut I secuntur sicut ship est. So example is crescite. X is a K and an S. So our examples are dixitque, so it becomes dixitque. Then we have diphthongi, and this just shows that these the two letters squished together are really just the ones on the right, so you can write them either way. And the way those are pronounced are e, and au. So the AE and the OE are pronounced the same way. You can go to the next one. And we have more Sýllabæ. So Sýllabæ verbi. Sua quaque vocalis et suus quisque diphthongus unam syllabam creat. So each vowel and each diphthong creates its own syllable. So our example is te, ne, bre. You can see that there's one vowel and one diphthong per each syllable. And next one is consonantes syllabas plerumque incipiunt potius quam terminant. So consonants would rather begin syllables than end them. You can see te, ne, bre. The N goes with the E in the second syllable. It doesn't go with the first syllable. It starts the second one. Same with the B, it goes with the last syllable instead of the second syllable. Consonantes gemine dividuntur. So a pair of consonants are divided into the syllables. You can see in the first syllable, it's ter, and then the second is ra. So they don't go together. It's not te-ra or ter-a. It's ter-ra. Then when it comes to L's and R's, usually they can get grouped into what we call consonant clusters. So example here is te-ne-bre. You can see that R goes with the B, so it's not te-neb-re, but te-ne-bre. And also and then when it comes to TS's, I believe that's usually only in initio verborum, so in the beginning of a word, or in the beginning of words, sorry. So pre stat, in this case prefixum est, as you can see in the bottom right corner. It's a prefix, so it's still stat, would be the beginning of the word. And then we have ecclesiae, but that gets split up into ecclesiae. You can see that the C's are divided, and the C is with the L. We have prefixa syllabas suas creant. So prefixes, well, they create their own syllables. So it's pre, and then stat. And then we have another example. It's appelavit. That gets split up into a, pel, la, vit. You can see the two L's are divided, and the V starts the last syllable. And you can go to the next slide. So here it's just broken down anymore. You can see there are the three last syllables. They're called syllaba penultima, syllaba penultima, syllaba antepenultima, syllaba penultima, and syllaba ultima. You can see how those are just split up. And this will be important for the next few slides. So we have accentus, so that's accentuation. Verba cum duabus syllabis, so that's words with two syllables. Accentus semper in syllaba prima est. So the accent is always on the first syllable. Praeter illic et perduc aduc etc. That's because they had vowels in classical Latin. It was illice and perduce and aduce, but those got dropped and the accent stayed the same. We have verba cum tribus aut pluribus syllabis. That's words with three or more syllables. Accentus in syllaba penultima est si in lingua latina classica. Vocalis et syllaba penultima non gravis est aut syllaba penultima clausa est. So the accent falls on the penultimate syllable if, according to the rules of classical Latin, the verb on the penultimate syllable is long or heavy, or the penultimate syllable is closed. So just go up so people remember where the penultimate syllable is, right? So it's that second to last syllable. You can go back down. And on the top right, you can see those are syllables. It's C represents consonants and V represents vocales. So clausa would be if it's a consonant, vowel, consonant, or a vowel, consonant. And aperta, which is open, is if it's consonant, vowel, or just a vowel by itself. And then accentus in syllaba penultima est si in lingua latina classica. Vocalis in syllaba penultima brevis aut levis est, aut syllaba penultima aperta est. So the accent falls on the antepenult, which is the third to last syllable, if, right, So it's the third to last syllable there. If, according to the rules of classical Latin, the the verb in the penultimate syllable, so the second to last, is short or light, or the penultimate syllable is open. So you can see aperta and aperta. You memorize those to know if the consonant is open or closed. So up at the top we have how the word would look in classical Latin. So lingua latina classica, it's appellavit, or rather appellavit. And then that gets syllabified into appellavit. And that comes into ecclesiastical Latin as appellavit. You can see these stresses on that A. It's on the second syllable because that A is long. It's an open syllable, but it's a long syllable. So in the bottom left, again, we have reference for where the names of the syllables are. And then on the right, we have first a closed syllable. Then we have a short syllable because the E is short and it's open. And then the last syllable is open because it's a consonant and it ends with a vowel. We can go to the next one. So here's a reading from Genesis. We'll go more into this next week, just because I figured this Schola would be long enough. So Bíblia Sacra Vulgáta, Lectio Libri Genesis. In principio creavit Deus caelum et terram, terra autem erat inanis et vacua, et tenebrae erant super faciem abyssi, et spiritus Dei ferebatur super aquas. Dixitque Deus fiat lux, et facta est lux, et vidit Deus lucem quod esset bona, et divisit lucem a tenebris, appellavitque lucem diem et tenebras noctem. Factumque est vespere et mane Deus unus. Genesis caput primum versus primus ad versum quintum. So I'm sure we all are familiar with the opening words of Genesis, but just for a rundown, it's in the beginning, God created the heaven, or rather heaven and the earth. The earth, however, was void and empty, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God, here I believe it's rendered as moved over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. I suppose some translations would say, "and light was made." And God and saw God the light that it was good, and He divided the light from the darkness, and He called the light day, and the darkness night. And it was evening and morning, day one. So, like I said, we'll go more in depth with these few verses in the next Schola. You can go to the next slide. So here we just have our index vocabulórum. It's all the words that were used in this lesson. I don't expect you to memorize all of them, but they're just here for reference, and you can see some of the relations between the words. So you can see creat, creant, and creavit. They're all the same verb, just different forms. And Deus et Dei, Dies et Diem, etc. And that's about it. So you can go to our closing prayer, which is the next slide down. There we go. Orátio Novíssima, oremus, signum crucis, in nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Doxologia minor. Gloria Patri et Filio et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et in saecula saeculorum. Amen. Sancte Hieronyme, ora pro nobis. And that concludes the lesson. So